Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm reviewing Sea Salt and Paper from Pandasaurus Games. Sea Salt and Paper is a light set collection game for 2 to 4 players in which players are going to be grabbing cards from the center pile over here, choosing which cards work best for the combination of cards they have in their hand, and trying to ultimately call a certain end of round point where they'll see if they have more points than other players before continuing until one player has 40 points, restarting going to the next round until the player has 40 points. That's the basic idea of how you play through the game. To go a bit more into detail, on your turn you're going to go ahead and take cards, either from one of the 2 discard piles, yes there's only one right now, or 2 cards from the top of the deck. If you go ahead and grab 2 cards from the top of the deck, you're going to go ahead and look at these cards. You're going to say, you know what, I think I want this card. And then if there's only one discard pile, you have to discard your card to a new discard pile. I'll go ahead and keep that. I'm going to play face up 2 hands so you can get a sense of how things play out, but that's going to be my turn over there. Other players are going to take their turn. They're also going to grab 2 cards. They're going to look at them both over here. They're actually, you know what, they're going to take the boat, and they're hopefully going to get that boat too, so they're going to put it on that discard pile. You have a choice of the 2 discard piles you want to put a card onto. Over here, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 cards over here. Ooh, I want that anchor. I want that anchor a lot. Now, I think, in general, whenever there's a pointer in the game of discarding cards, I'll usually try to discard to where the other person didn't, knowing they might have wanted the other card. On the other hand, they may have wanted the card they just put down. You never really know. But to that end, I'm going to go ahead and discard this over here, hoping I'll be able to collect the anchor. So I'm going to put this, you know what, honestly, I'm going to take this because this without this is useless. This without this can still be useful, sort of. So I'm going to take this over here, discard that. This player is going to go ahead and take this card on their turn, and they have a set of boats, which means they can immediately take another turn. They're going to draw 2 more cards on the top of the deck. Ooh, they have an anchor. Now this is a tough one. They don't know that I took the anchor. All they know is there's an anchor over there. So they're going to go ahead and discard this card, collecting that anchor. That's really not a great start for me, because in this game, whenever you see icons like that, that means a single anchor is 0 points and 2 anchors is 5 points. Similarly over here, this card over here is that whenever you have more and more shells, you'll get collectively up to 10 points for a set of 6 shells as you gather more shells, but they're also more common than anchors. You can see in the bottom right corner telling you how many cards are in the game from that type of card type in the game. Over here, these boats are going to be worth a point for a pair of boats, but they're going to give you an ability. In general, there's going to be a bunch of duo cards in the game. There's 4 cards over here that give you an ability for when you have a set of cards, either stealing a card from someone's hand, digging through the discard pile, taking the top card of the deck, or drawing a set of cards are going to be the abilities you have. In this case, it's currently my turn. The tricky part is this person took the anchor knowing they want that anchor, and they don't know that I have the other anchor, but now I'm taking the anchor, and they don't necessarily know why because they can't see my hand. They're just a little frustrated, which means at the very least I'll end up with 3 points, but they'll end up with 0 points because there's no more anchors and no more, well, these cards to score. Now, the tricky part is as you play through the game, you're trying to score until one player has 7 points. You're going to be getting points from the cards over here. So again, this aspect's 3 points for anchor. That's going to be 0 right now. So for example, I have 0, 0, and 3 right now, and they have 1 point. Once you have 7 points, you can choose to keep playing, or at any point you can call to end the round, which will keep going. We'll keep playing until you see that play out. So back to their turn over here. They're going to go ahead and take 2 cards over here, and we're going to keep playing this way until we're done. They're going to grab, you know what, they'll grab the crab, because why not? Maybe they'll grab another crab later. We'll see. This player is going to go ahead and grab, ooh, we got a fishies. Oh, we got a mermaid. You know what, we're going to go ahead and put the fish down on top of the other fish, and we're going to take the mermaid. If you ever get 4 mermaids, and there's only 4 mermaids, you immediately win the game. Not the round, the game. You win the game if you have 4 mermaids, so that's its own little push your luck mechanism, but they're also worth points to you as well. Back to this person's turn. Ooh, they wanted the crab, I forgot about that, but now they got a mermaid too. We're going to go ahead and take a mermaid. We're going to discard this boat down here. Ooh, we want the boat. We do want the boat, so we'll put the boat here, so at least we're happy either way. We're going to take this over here. We got a fish and a fish. You know what? We're going to go ahead and put the fish down here. I'm going to take this, hoping to get a point per fish. This person, unfortunately, did want that over there. You know what? They're just going to go ahead and take the fish and hope for the best. Maybe that will become uncovered later as we go. Back to my turn over here. I'm going to go ahead. I have a fish, and I have a shark. I'm going to take the fish over here, put it down, and I'll discard that over there. They're going to take the boat thingy. They want that 2 points per boat, which means they currently have 2 points from this over here, nothing else from there, but they also have a point for the card they have the most color of, which unfortunately is none. They have none as their most primary color. They have 1 of each, so it doesn't really help them there. So they have a current total of 3 points. Meanwhile, I have 1. 2, 3 from this over here, so 4 from this, 2 because that gives me for those, so I'm currently at 6 points. Ooh, if I take a single one of these cards, this is the tricky part. This is where you start going into the push your luck tension of the game, which is not the craziest thing for me. I think I'm going to go ahead, for the sake of this, speeding this up over here, I'm going to go ahead and show you what the end round looks like. I'm going to take this card right now. This card is going to put me at 3 blue cards. Mermaids score 1 point for the card you have the most color of. If you have multiple mermaids, you have to distribute it to new colors. So you can't just score your maximum color multiple times. You'd have to pick different cards. So in this case, I have 3 points because I have 1, 2, 3. I have 3 points for my anchor, and I also have a point because I have a fish over here, and that means I have 7 points over here, and I'm going to go ahead and call, well, the round. And specifically, well, you have 2 options right about now. As soon as you have 7 points, you can either call stop. At that point, all players score the points on the cards, period, end of story. But specifically because I have those 3 blues, which amongst 7 cards, having 3 of the same color is not that common in the game, I'm actually going to call Last Chance instead. This is that push your luck mechanism that's going to be present in Sea Salt and Paper. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to call Last Chance. This player has 1 more turn. They have 1 more turn to hopefully get more points. They're going to go ahead and do so. It's also worth noting, by the way, these cards are all on the table as I play through it just so you can see, but these cards are actually going to be on the table, and these other cards are technically in their hands. In this case, neither of these cards are that great, but a purple card will help me score more points for my mermaid, so I will collect that card over there. I'll go ahead and take that. Probably should have taken the crab, honestly, but it's too late now. And then we're going to go ahead and add up our points. I have 7 over here. This player over here has 1 point for 2 points for the boats. They have 2 points for the purples, which means they only have 4, which means they have fewer points than you. And if they have fewer points, you won the bet. Winning the bet means you are going to score the points of your cards plus the color bonuses. In other words, 7 plus 3 equals 10 points. The opponent's going to score only their color bonus or only 2 points. On the other hand, if I lost my bet, then they would score only the color bonus, so I'd only score 3 points, and they would score the points in their cards, otherwise 4 points effectively. So there's a little bit of a push your luck mechanism as far as who scores what, depending on if you call Last Chance or if you just call stop. When you're done with that, so in this case right now, I would go ahead and I have 10 points, and they have simply their color bonus only, so they're going to score 2 points. I'm going to go ahead and take these over here, shuffle everything up, and then start a new round, resetting up the board to start and continue a new round. And you're going to continue playing rounds until a player has 40 points, and at the end of that round, whoever has the most points is going to win the game. That is how you play through a game of Sea Salt and Paper, which means it's time for the review, starting off with ease of play. The game is, for the most part, incredibly straightforward. The only 2 things that will hang you up are the actual cards themselves, what the scoring mechanisms are on the cards, and I personally think they're fairly intuitive. I think maybe the Mermaid's not that intuitive. They have a handy-dandy little play rate for the actual abilities. I think it's very easy to pick up and figure out how cards score in the game. The only other thing that will trip you up is the exact sequence of what happens when you call Last Chance. Because there's an aspect of getting more or less, but it's really not clear. In fact, to the point that I find myself frequently, you may have even noticed me kind of giving it the side eye as I told you what happens. That's because I frequently have to look up the exact sequence of when I win the Last Chance or not. I understand how I win Last Chance, but past that I'm always like, okay, I get this plus that, you get just that, but if I lose, I get this, just this, and you get that. A little confusing, not crazy confusing, but I almost always end up double checking the reference card as I go through it. The game itself plays in 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, and you can knock out a game even faster, especially if you're just playing a 2-player and going through the experience. And with that, let's go ahead and go into the review. And I'm going to not follow my usual format over here of what I like, don't like, and conceal as not liking. I'm almost going to jump straight to a general opinions of this game. Because Sea Salt and Paper is a very light experience that has this kind of push your luck tension thrown in that does enhance the experience. The core game, though, I say there's 2 things that enhance the experience. The first thing that enhances the experience is the artwork. Pictures of origami, it's absolutely magnificent, the game. Every single card having beautiful artwork on it. I love the presentation, the feel, it feels very laid back, and it takes a little light drawing cards game. The combination of the artwork, the theme, the accessibility of the gameplay just gives you a very calming experience. You're playing this game, you draw 2 cards, you figure out your score, you're just trying to optimize your hand, which is good and bad, because the game is very laid back and it's very light. It's also very light on strategy. You're mostly just drawing 2 cards and trying to figure out what's going to optimize your score. Most of the time, the game is playing itself. Most of the time, you're doing the obvious thing. Once in a while, you have a decision as far as how exactly you decide, which card is going to be better, which card is more likely to feed into more points. And then the main decision you have every single round is when to call stop or Last Chance. When do you take that bit of a bluff around how your opponent's doing, how you're doing, how confident they seemed as they reached into the discard pile to grab cards that worked for them, versus how often were they pulling from the deck and you have no idea how well that fit into the engine. It mostly comes down to that Last Chance or stop mechanism where you decide how and where to end the round. Which means the game is fun. It's fun. I like the game. I like Sea Salt and Paper. I have a good time playing it, but I also I think it's too light and too procedural as far as what the game itself is doing to really heavily invest in me. It's a luck-driven experience. It's a heavily luck-driven experience with a degree of knowing or guessing where to call for the last round to try to get things. I cannot say that I've ever won a game of this and really felt like that is that accomplished. Nor when I lose a round do I feel like I messed up that much. And make no mistake, whenever I say something like that, there will always be players who know a game system well enough that they can find that, 5-10% skill within the system and use it to leverage themselves towards more wins. There's always ways to take advantage of a system as much as possible. I hate saying like, oh, it's too luck driven and then someone else will stomp me out of the game. That can happen, of course. But the game feels very light on the decision space versus what you're actually doing in the game. But it is enjoyable. It's a calm, easygoing, enjoyable experience that just happens to be very, very light on the strategy department, at least for myself. Overall, and I guess final thoughts and all that stuff, overall, Sea Salt and Paper, I think it has a very interesting theme. The name itself is already a little weird, but Sea Salt and Paper, I think, has an interesting theme. I think it has a very Zen-like presentation to the cards and to the gameplay. It plays well at multiple player counts. I think it does play best at 2, because at 2 players, you kind of have a bit more of a back and forth of how often you'll see that discard pile and how often you can manipulate the discard pile. At higher player counts, you have even less of a chance, and mermaid wins are incredibly infrequent to begin with. They're even less frequent at higher player counts. You really want them at those 2 player counts where you'll see them more. So it's a light, simple gaming experience that has aspects of it that are charming and compelling, but ultimately for me does feel like it's too luck driven. For me, this is going to be a 3.5 out of 5. Gameplay mechanics alone almost would probably be a 3 out of 5. It's fun, it's okay. The artwork and aesthetic of the game does bump it up half a point because I do enjoy it. I don't mind. I wouldn't mind sitting here playing a game with you right now. I'd have no problem doing so. I like the game. It's fun. It's just very, very, very light as far as games go. If you're looking for other game recommendations, first of all, a game that doesn't actually play the same at all, but feels like there's a lot more going on, Scout is going to be a game that gives you a hand management experience that, to me, it feels like there's a lot more decision space around how you operate within Scout. And then secondly, if you're just looking for a variety of point scoring mechanisms all put together in a way that I thought was almost, I don't know, also luck driven, but a little bit more rewarding just based on how much was going on in it, I'd say Point Salad very much gave me a similar feel and experience to this one. In any case, until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. This is Sea Salt and Pepper. I don't know why I said that. I usually don't say that in my reviews. I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And until next time, I hope you have a good one.